5, 4, 3, 2. Matt Hutchinson, you are the Chief Commercial Officer at LeafLink. I can only imagine, I know it's not LeafLink phones, but LeafLink technology has been going gangbusters for probably well over a month. How is 420 from your vantage point?
In terms of what we're seeing from our customers, just a ton of growth year over year. We're seeing March was the largest March we've ever had by over 20%. And midway through April, we're pacing similarly year over year from the previous April. So that tends to mean that our customers are doing well and getting a lot of products on the shelf. I think we're seeing growth in a few key expansion markets, think like New York and Ohio. And then, even some of the more mature markets, we're seeing strong growth continue there, even as prices kind of continue to have their challenges. So it's been exciting to see the industry kind of continue to power forward despite some of the headwinds that I think everybody's kind of aware of.
Yeah. It's. I think we had someone. I think it was Ben Burstein from LeafLink on not that long ago talking about retailers. This is my words, not his. Like really, both tightening their belts but getting their act together, right? Like understanding how to do inventory better with LeafLink's help, obviously, but like understanding how to offer what customers want, not have your back room full of things people don't want. Like actually ramping up that process, and it's a theme that we've been talking about all year. Is like getting to be better operators. Is critical of what headwinds that you talked about. Pickier consumers, more mature markets, all those things.
Yeah.
You're going to do better with what you have.
Right. And I think, the industry is going to continue to be capitally constrained, right? And so being more efficient and more effective with the working capital that you do have, making sure that is more efficient and generating more profit is going to be kind of the name of the game as some of these different markets mature.
So Matt, I know we're talking today. LeafLink has a new product, the All Access Edition. Tell us a little bit about that. Why now? And what some of your clients look forward to.
Yeah. So the All Access Edition is the first of what we anticipate to be a set of large product releases that we're going to try and continue to release around some of the major cannabis holidays. We're a couple of days after 420. Purposefully, we don't want to release a big software update right before the biggest day of the year, but we do want to continue to roll out a series of really major releases. So we'll continue to roll. We'll have a Croptober edition, and then tentatively scheduling a New Year's edition, and we'll continue to have one kind of looking to have on a quarterly basis starting about mid-year of 26. And each of these is intended to have a set of major functionality release. And we're calling this one the All Access Edition because we're tearing down the paywalls that were blocking the utilization of some of the different pieces of functionality that we're unlocking here. So we talked in October with Jay about the payment on sell-through solution that allowed retailers to pay for product once they've sold, but ensure that wholesalers were getting paid and getting paid in a timely manner for the products that they did actually move off the shelves. That was 2.5% to 3%, depending on the market that you were operating in. That's now included. We've rolled out some additional functionality around collections and simplifying that process for our sellers that was previously 1 to 1.25%, depending on the market. All included. We've also rolled out a number of sales rep tools to make their lives easier. I don't know how in the weeds you guys are on it, but we typically see something similar to the process of download a menu, email that menu to a buyer marks it up or enters it into a spreadsheet, emails or texts it back to the sales rep enters it into LeafLink. We've created order forms that allow them just to send that over, enter the quantities, press submit, orders in this, so just a bunch of different things to enable sales to be more productive, enable collections to have less fall through the cracks, free up working capital. And then we're also taking big strides to help our operators increase their sales on a per store basis by embedding different sell-through analytics within the platform. And so it was previously constrained to payment on sell-through customers and that sell-through piece of it, we've actually decoupled that and said, hey, if your retailer gives you access, you can see that sell-through. And it's the first kind of wholesale first offering that ties it all back to the wholesale SKU rather than forcing our wholesalers to have to map all of those different SKUs across the different point of sale systems, which we've seen a significant amount of upside for our customers in terms of efficiency, but then, eliminating that kind of 10 to 15% of lost sales that these sales reps will see just because a buyer didn't know something was out of stock or waited until a minimum was hit or whatever it may be. And so we're excited about this release. We're also really excited about the oncoming releases that are going to continue behind this, that we think we can continue to move the industry forward pretty impactfully.
Yeah. And just another question on that, to sort of peel back the envelope with, how companies like LeafLink drop new products, how much of it is a conversation between the operators you work with and your internal team, or is it your internal team coming up with a brilliant idea and saying, we want to do this, just to sort of understand how that works for our viewers?
Yeah. There's not a single product that we release that's not born by conversations from our customers. How we package them up and how we get those to the masses, that's internally typically. But things like sell-through visibility, there are alternatives in the market that are kind of piecemeal, that require a bunch of work beside it. We think we can solve that and provide it where it's actionable within a platform. Collections challenges, almost every retailer, or every seller we talk to indicates that. And if you talk to the retail side, there's typically good reason behind it. And so, how do we solve those challenges? We talked, these sales rep tools didn't come out of the blue. They're from conversations we've had from both the LeafLink and LeafTrade customer base to help us understand what's impactful for our customers. And then it's okay, how do we make sure that these are as accessible as possible to our customer base?
You've talked about, and we've had previous conversations with folks at LeafLink as well, that the industry, many folks, certainly on the retail level, I think you used the word, I don't know if you were swivel chair, right? There's so many different pieces of the puzzle to get their operations together. Is it, as Jeremy was asking about, where can we make them swivel less? Well, one, to stay on LeafLink, but also to make their lives easier / more profitable.
Yeah. I mean, in this, it's do I want to jump between this system for my analytics, for my sell-through analytic, this system for aggregating all my analytics together, Metric or BioTrack for compliance, LeafLink for sales, and ERP for accounting. And then I got to still jump between different bank accounts to figure out who has paid what from a reconciliation perspective. I'll give you an example just on the three-way match tool that we've released, where essentially it shows the seller what was ordered, the seller has indicated what they shipped, and the buyer has indicated what they received, all via the compliance system. That used to require that an accounting personnel would go into LeafLink to then go into Metric to check to see what was actually shipped versus received, and then go into the accounting system to then go create an invoice, right? 3 different systems that we just consolidated into one conversation where there's one single source of truth between both sides, where you're not having to do that swivel chair anymore. That's one example, but you start to look at the express order forms where copy a link from LeafLink, email it, the buyer looks at it, sees their customized pricing, 10 units here, 20 cases here, whatever it may be, submit, orders done. The sales rep's not having to jump back into their email. They're not having to jump back into their text messages and then transcribe that into another system. And so very much so looking to streamline that process. And I think we're also trying to be thoughtful about the different personas, right? And so if you think about the sales rep may care a lot more about, was this order fulfilled to the way it was supposed to be? But the inventory personnel maybe doesn't need to log into LeafLink, right? And they just are utilizing Metric. They're pulling the order down. They go into Metric. They assign the packages. They press the shipment. We now have made it really, really easy for that to be tied out together. So you can quickly see this order goes with this manifest, and be able to understand exactly which package is tied to it, so that everybody kind of has their system that they're operating from.
And then Matt, another question on the product release. I'm sure you've seen it. There's been some consternation. Some of it self-interested on the part of people that want to compete with you. Some of it
Sure.
from operators who are worried about price increases, right?
Yeah.
How do you respond to that? I'm sure you've seen the social chatter.
Yeah. Ultimately, we have structured it where we are rewarding growth with kind of a regressive pricing model. We also are recognizing that, some of the folks on the smaller end actually don't see any price change at all. And so we're trying to kind of straddle a line between creating broad-based access to these tools to make them really, really easy and accessible to use, but then also allow us to continue to invest in the platform, continue to invest in the customer success. That's another kind of big piece of this. We've made a huge investment in the way that we actually interact with our customers, taking the average number of customers per success rep from 200 to 20. And so you can imagine kind of being able to work alongside of our customers and help them scale. And there's a modest change in the price structure, and totally understand the different competitors trying to kind of utilize that as a mechanism. But what we're seeing when you sit down and have the conversation is 5 to 10x ROI for our customers, without accounting for those of hyperscale, where we're setting caps on the actual fee structure. So those ROIs get north of 20x, just based on the ability to eliminate those bad debt expenses, eliminate those lost sales, and continue to scale the operation efficiently.
Yeah. And I guess I'll ask the other part of that is that the industry is, there's a lot of competing factors happening here, right? There's the new markets opening up, like New York, Ohio, even Maryland, a little bit older, like very exciting and growth. There's mature markets which have been around 5-10 years, which are going through their cycles as well. And then there are markets that are like just on the cusp, right, just on the horizon, which I think is unusual for an industry of this scale and scope. It's like trying to, I guess the question is how difficult it is to like try to appeal to and service all of those different sort of slices of the sector, knowing that some people it's their first year in business, some it's their 10th, some are doing great business, some are having real challenges, some are in their first month, some are in their 11th year. Like it's really a unique technological challenge and a service challenge for you guys, I must imagine.
It is, right. In different states, even those that are both mature have different challenges across them. And so where we're looking at is we've got a lot of different solutions for our customers, but and that's where the customer success piece becomes so important. What are your biggest challenges? And let's work with you to understand. I think a really good example of it is, we can look at pricing, not just across the LeafLink customer base, but across LeafLink and the Leaf Trade customer base, to understand where are you positioned in the market, right? And these are things that are, because we have the ability to have that level of customer support, be able to say, hey, you're somewhere in between value and middle of the shelf. You're either leaving money on the table in terms of margin, or you're leaving money on the table in terms of units sold. Let's have the conversation about where it makes sense for you to live, so that we can start to help those more nuanced conversations. There's also different regulatory complexities and constraints that we've tried to account for in the solutions. But a state like New York, not everybody's using BioTrack yet. And so some of those things are challenging to navigate. And so because of that, we have created alternative solutions for things like sell-through that leverage point of sale data, but then at the same time also recognize that there's not the same level of solution in every market, and accounted for that with different caps that we're putting on these different markets.
That's all I got, Jay. Anything else?
No, that's all I got too. Like I just think it's look, we both here, but in my previous iteration as well, has known sort of LeafLink for a long time and sort of followed it through as as I think one of the seminal, technology companies, certainly industry, but also at such an interesting inflection point in the services you provide that you see a lot. You see a lot. You see a lot of operators. You understand the brands, the wholesalers, the retailers, and what makes things tick on the sort of behind the scenes, which I think is where a lot of the the mechanics of the industry work, but also where a lot of the mechanics of the industry need to work better if it's going to be a successful, thriving enterprise, both on the individual retail level or at scale, or for a brand, or for a wholesaler, or for a market overall. Which I think that's why it's always interesting to sort of connect with you.
Yeah. And, just to kind of double down on that, that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is help move the industry forward. And at the end of the day, we can provide the tools to enable, whether it's sell-through visibility, or whether it's collections challenges, or whether it's sales productivity. And that's really where utilizing that view that we have, we've really tried to anchor all of our product releases that we'll be rolling out over the next 18, 24 months on this cycle.
Well, we'll see you then.
Yeah, very excited about it.
We'll see you in Croptober.
Yes, that's right.
Well, Matt, we appreciate the time today. As always, look forward to connect with you as things roll out again, and good luck in the next coming weeks as this thing hits folks' shelves.
Great. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Bye.